Hi, I'm Sheena Smith, Ambassador for RE/MAX Platinum Access. RE/MAX Platinum Access is a full-service commercial, residential, and luxury real estate brokerage in the Metro Atlanta area that is willing and able to handle all of your real estate needs. Hi, I'm Sheena Smith, Ambassador for RE/MAX Platinum Access. Today we are with our very own Kenisha, the Executive Vice President of our Commercial Division. Today I want to catch up with you, Kenisha, and find out what have you been up to. Tell us your latest project, which we happen to be standing right in front of, and what is it that we can be expecting for you in the upcoming months?
All right, so we are standing in front of 131 Walker Street. You can hear the traffic behind us. We're in the hustle and bustle of Castleberry Hill. Castleberry Hill is a historic area. This used to be all warehouses at one point. It's near the railroad tracks over here. So back in the day, in the 20s and 30s, this place was booming. It was full of different bars and restaurants and saloons and even little places for people to have their businesses while they made deliveries for the different logistics and stuff. So, and over the years, this area has definitely progressed and changed, and now it's full of art galleries. There's lots of buildings with murals, some graffiti, but more murals, and it's just a beautiful, eclectic place. Lots of art walks and strolls and bistros and cafes. Flying Biscuit is coming across the street, and so the area has totally changed. So I have been working on this building. It's an 11,000 or so square foot property. It used to be a warehouse, and it over the past 3 years has undergone major renovations. I'm talking multi-million dollars worth of renovations to change this into a retail plaza, I would say. So it will house anywhere between, it could go, between 5 to 6 retailers. We're standing in front of the latest lease to have been completed, which will be a restaurant. Name to come soon. It has been inked, but even just this morning, the developer's kind of holding off a little bit on the publicity, but you'll love the food. It'll remind you of home, maybe even grandma. Has maybe like a Creole vibe, some Cajun, some jazz, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. Which we love. Food is definitely near and dear to the heart of a lot of people, but especially in Atlanta when you have so many different cultures and so forth, it's more like a melting pot. So to have something that's going to be near and dear is perfect. But I love how you talk about just the history over time with things changing and how it has progressed so much to where we are literally a half a mile away from a multi-million-dollar stadium, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium right behind us. So to have something like this in this area, I can only assume it's going to be very important. It's going to be very lucrative, especially for the business owners. But let's talk about what does that mean specifically with the community. Having this restaurant or being in this area and seeing the changes over time, how has the community been affected by it?
So there's been a lot of higher end retail that has come underway. Even just down the street, there's higher end condos, multi-million dollar properties being built. And so that shifts the community a little bit, but we're up for that challenge. So we still wanted to maintain the original culture in the community. We didn't want that to just disappear. So we have been extremely particular about who we lease to, because we want to, just like this is an artsy vibe, that's culture. We don't want that to go away. Right. And just like this is a historic building, there's history that should be preserved, right? So the developer is H.J. Russell Development. That was owned by Herman J. Russell. They started in this area, 60 years ago. Their headquarters was on Fair Street, just a few blocks away. When H.J. Russell passed away in 2014, his children have since taken over that business. There's a mural of his face right behind this building. So it was extremely important to maintain some of his vision to uplift the community to preserve the history, the culture, and a certain kind of vibe. And so we've been very, very intentional about who we entertain for this building.
I love it. And H.J. Russell, there's a lot of history with that. For them to be your clients, the Russells, that's absolutely amazing because they have just been a pivotal role from the civil rights movement up until now. So making sure that you're keeping some of that history, some of that old, and combining it with the new is very important. From what I see in my research with the Russells, and Mr. Herman Russell himself, he was a pivotal part in the civil rights movement with actually helping bail out some of those civil rights activists who were jailed at the time. So to see his legacy continue on with his children is very, very important, especially important for the history here in this area. So that is a huge undertaking for you. Huge client too as well.
Yeah, it is. It's a blessing to be able to representing a piece of Atlanta culture, a piece of Atlanta history. That company was influential in building this stadium, the last stadium, Coca-Cola building, some of the iconic buildings that you see in our skyline. This company was influential in doing that. And even back in the civil rights era when, you know, they were just a pivotal family, let me just say that made some huge strides for the community and even just relationships. They partnered with a lot of well-known companies and made some huge relationships in the community, and that's just a beautiful thing to see it continue. Even their old headquarters has now turned into the Russell Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, RCIE, and that is now, you think about WeWorks, but think about WeWorks for the community. Think about WeWorks where Spelman and Morehouse and other young entrepreneurs that look like us can go and learn about or get access to capital, do pitches, have a community where they can have an office, do podcasts, work, network amongst each other, all right here down the street.
Wow.
So even though they've moved their headquarters to Midtown, they have turned their old headquarters into a hub and an incubator space for businesses. So just another addition to the community, which is beautiful. So it's great to be a part of the entire vision because this isn't the only building. There will be other additions to come and other changes, and it's just a beautiful thing.
That is wonderful to hear. So how long have you been working on this project? How long have you been overseeing this project here?
Maybe over 2 years, I believe. You know, commercial real estate takes a very, very long time, but I think they've been working on this project well over 3. If you think about all of the plans, and you never know what you're going to come up against when you are dealing with historic facades and trying to preserve and maintain so much. And then of course COVID, there was a long pause and permits and construction challenges. So it's been about 2 years that I've been working with them.
A couple things I want to unpack there, which I think is great. For those who are not familiar with the differences between commercial real estate and residential real estate, to have been working on this one project for 2 years can be a very long and gruesome, undertaking. When you're in the residential world, us agents, we're looking at a 30 to 45 day close, and that's with us getting traditional financing, maybe a little quicker if you have cash deals. But in showing people houses, you're talking about 60 days maybe max on a good transaction. We're talking about 2 years here for this project. Tell me, what do you do in the interim of waiting for things to happen and take place?
Well, it's never even a wait, and 2 years is normal. Did you hear what I said?
Oh my God.
2 years that's pretty much like the average for some of the deals that I've been working on, because there's so many moving pieces on the commercial aspect. And you're looking at a project that, was a warehouse or an automotive facility for so long, and then you think about you're gutting it to the stud, to the bare bones, and then building it out. You're digging in the ground to put grease traps. And then all the while considering, you're trying to envision what it will look like and who would be the perfect client for this space to enhance the community. So it takes time. It takes time, and that is quite normal for commercial, unfortunately. So in the meantime, while we're working on doing the leasing in advance, and we always save,
yes, of course,
and plan accordingly. And it's not just a waiting period, because I'm always looking to see who would be the perfect person for the location.
Yes, so you have to make sure it's a perfect mix. So there's a lot that goes into it. Another thing that I wanted to unpack that you said COVID. Now we're in a pandemic caused by COVID-19, so that has, affected and impacted residential as well as commercial businesses. What impacts have you been seeing on your end on the commercial side due to COVID?
A lot. So at first, back in March, April, everything just kind of paused and stopped. This project, we were like, the inspection was supposed to happen, and then the city shut down. And then so that we couldn't get our paperwork, which means if you can't get your, certificate of completion, then your tenants can't start their permitting process to start their designs. So everything took a pause. We were waiting. We were trying to see what was going to happen. We had to wait for the cities to reopen, and then the inspections, they kind of went on to an online process, and then they came out. So it just was a lot of detours to get it done, but it took a lot of pause. It was a lot of pausing and figuring out what was going on. When we did get back up and running with the city, then everyone was able to kind of fall back into place. But you think about in a pandemic, different companies are able to capitalize on that opportunity, and you think about sometimes how prices will spike. Wood has spiked astronomically, so all of these projects that were on pause, but you needed lumber. We didn't need lumber for our building, particularly, but there are other projects that did, and now that affects your budget, that affects your bottom line, that affects the investors now have to go back to the drawing board. Do we really want to use this type of material? Can we exchange it for another type? So COVID definitely affected that as well. What else? So as far as some of my other transactions, not particularly this building, but some of the other transactions, I had a Chinese investor that was partnering with someone here in the United States to purchase some land, and then when COVID hit, they had no access to their money. Their banks shut down, they couldn't get access, so that deal, it was extended one time, and then the sellers decided to just stop. We ended up getting under contract with someone else, but we didn't close when we were expected to close, and we have been working with them for over a year. Wow. So lots of impacts, lots of changes. Yes. I'm glad everything is up and running now.
So that definitely was a lot, and I can understand why a deal can take about 2 years to definitely get done or see it all the way through. But what I hear a lot of, or what I did hear a lot of what you said, sounded like a lot of negotiation. And so I'm sure that the negotiation, which is something that we do on the residential end, but I'm sure it's really different on the commercial side, where you have to be, I'm sure, very tactful. It can get very interesting and intense and crazy. Tell me, what goes into the process when you are looking to negotiate for your client?
Right. So I'm the kind of person that negotiates fairly. I don't believe that one party has to lose for the other party to win. Why can't you both come to the table? And so, based on CCIM, we do interest-based negotiations. So you kind of, look at all the stakeholders that are involved, on the buyer side, the seller side, the tenant side, the landlord side, and what are their interests? What do they need? And then you try to meet in the middle. You try to satisfy all parties, because if one person feels like they've lost, that's gonna affect the relationship for the entire length of the term. And why do that? Commercial real estate is a small knit community, so why burn bridges or start off on the wrong foot unnecessarily? So I always try to find out what are the needs. So even with this one, we officially signed the lease in October, but originally the lease was supposed to be signed in September. Well, then all of the stakeholders weren't here, and then so the one came on the day of signing, making a lot of changes. And this is why you need all the stakeholders involved, so we can hear that person's side. What is it that you need? What is it that you have to have? What are essentials? What are deal breakers? What are desires? Because one of the suites that we thought would be most ideal for their flow, he saw it totally different and wanted the entire other side of the building. And that happens. That's not unusual. That totally happens. And it's just, how do we solve this amicably? Because for however the length of the term is, you want to have a good working relationship. So negotiations is actually one of my favorites, because I like people to get along. I want people to like one another. Yeah, that might not always happen, but why can't we come to a middle? And so that's kind of like one of my favorite things to do on the low. It's
Yeah.
not on the low anymore since I'm telling everyone, but that is one of my favorite things to do, because it's like you can have, you know, sometimes some of the men, and this is a male-dominated industry, they go like, well, I'm not gonna do that, I'm not gonna do that. Not saying that was here, but in other situations, it has come like that. It's like, guys, wait a minute. You're saying some of the same things. I can totally see, you know, your desires. Let's make it happen. Both of us want this situation. Let's just find a way to get it done.
I love the whole win-win aspect of that, making sure that you're appeasing to both sides of the parties so that they can feel that they have all won in the transaction. But from what I've heard is that when people are on the other side of your deal, since you love negotiations so much, is that they really need to come prepared, because you are coming full force. You know what it is that you want, and you're trying to get the best for your clients. But I love how you said that it's in this commercial industry, it's more of a male-dominant role, male-dominant industry, I should say. And you being a female, how have you learned to come in strong with negotiation? Whereas it's been generalized that women typically don't negotiate, they don't like to, or they don't have the confidence to negotiate. What have you done over the years to help build your confidence to where you are, for lack of a better term, a beast in this negotiation in the commercial industry?
Well, CCIM definitely helped, and I would say that because I learned strategy. Remember I said I do interest-based negotiations. So whereas, you know, I understand what my client has to have, what's, you know, what are maybe desires, not needs, what are essentials, what are deal breakers, and I go after those. But then I also go after, I'm strategic with it, but I also back it up with the math, you know, so I understand the value that's at stake, the dollars that are at stake. I do an analysis for my clients, so I figure out if they don't get this, what's the worst case scenario? If we have to walk away, what are our options? And so we always have an exit strategy. So if we come to the table, we let it all, you know, out honestly, but we also have backups, so we know how hard we need to negotiate or not, or we need to play it safe, or, you know, that sort of thing. So it's strategy.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in this industry don't strategize when it comes to negotiating. It's just, I want what I want, and that doesn't always fly. So if you're the kind of person that hears through that, and you've done your research and you know their needs, or you know what I mean, like there's a better approach. You don't have to be so hardcore. You can be nice and still get what you want, and still represent your client to the best of your ability and get them what they need, and all parties can still be happy. But sometimes I've had to be a little bit more aggressive, and not everyone is accepting of that coming from someone like me.
Right.
That doesn't mean I'm angry.
Right.
That just means that I can be just as aggressive and strong as the next person. That does not mean I'm angry.
Right.
You know, so it's just strategy.
Yeah.
I would say is one of the biggest things, and
that's why you're doing these big deals and you're getting them done. I love it. Absolutely love it. So that's great to hear that CCIM has helped you with your negotiation tactics, with the strategy and so forth, so that you can come off strong and tactful without seeming aggressive or angry. But you know, negotiation in the commercial space is a lot different, and so you have to come and make sure that you're fighting for those terms for your clients, which is great. I want to touch upon the CCIM, the Certified Commercial Investment Member aspect of that, because you are an instructor, which is a huge thing for CCIM, being that they've never had a female instructor. Am I mistaken?
No, there are female instructors. There's some that have been instructing for over 30 years.
Okay.
But there was never a black female instructor. And so last year, myself and a lady out of New York, Connecticut area, she's with another commercial firm, we both made that milestone accomplishment at the same time. So we're co-first, first black female instructors, and it took 52 years.
Wow.
And, you know, for that to happen. So that was a major accomplishment.
Of course, and then with you being one of the first female black instructors, that I'm sure puts a lot on your shoulders, you know, because you are someone that's looked to be as a trailblazer in the commercial industry. What is it that you're hoping to accomplish with your role?
Well, I always say, you know, there's a lot of times that you could be the only person in the room. You know, are you going to make some noise? Are people going to know you're there? you can either, but in this space, I would say that in this space, sometimes being the only person in the room, you end up being the token. Well, the difference between the token and the trailblazer is the trailblazer, opens up the path for everyone else to come along. And, so that's my desire. Is I've been in this industry for 15 years, and it's lonely being the only woman in certain, capacities. And so I'm like, I would love for more people that look like me to have the opportunity to learn about commercial real estate. I wish I would have learned this in school, but it wasn't taught.
Right.
I wish I would have learned about finances and investing and credit and debt and strategy. I wish I would have learned that, but some schools don't get that in their curriculum. Some schools or some people, they learn it from their parents at the dinner table.
Right.
That wasn't my scenario. Some people learn it at golf camp, or different outings, and that wasn't our conversation growing up. So I have been very, again, intentional and passionate about taking what I know and giving back.
Right.
And so sharing that, even with, I just mentioned earlier about the RCIE, I have gone into some Atlanta public schools and taught, volunteered my time to go in there and draw on the chalkboard and do math and get them to think outside of what the school may be training them to do. Just get out of school, go get a job, or get out of school, go to the military, or get out of school, go get in debt and student loans, and then now you're starting in this vicious cycle when you're in the pit. Right. So I'm trying to train them to think like entrepreneurs. What is your passion? What is your gift? And how can we get you there? And also teaching them about real estate.
Right.
Early exposure is key.
Yes, definitely. And it's sometimes hard to envision yourself in roles and capacities where you don't see people that look like you there. And sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. And so it's great that you are going out there and teaching them that. Now, is that a part of your REAP program, the Real Estate Associate program?
No, that was just, I had an opportunity. Someone asked me to do it, and I just have been continually coming in there. I've taken them on field trips to RCIE. They got to hear about the Russell, how H.J. Russell, his first real estate deal was done when he was 16 years old.
Wow.
And that was way back in, the civil rights era.
Wow.
16 years old, he bought some land and built a duplex. Then by the time he was able to sell it, he funded himself to go to Tuskegee to learn about construction, came back, and here we are.
Right.
So early exposure. And so that can happen for him. As a 16-year-old, how many other high school students can that happen for? So this is on my own time. That's just volunteering. That's just a desire that I have, and
I love it.
But I had partnered with REAP.
Okay.
Some other cases. So REAP is a real estate associate program. They are geared toward helping people of diverse backgrounds to get exposure to real estate. Now these are adults. So they're either maybe people that are in their second career wanting to learn, or maybe they're in, maybe they work for a firm, but not on the brokerage side. Maybe they're on the analysis side, and there's no one in the firm to teach them. So this is where they go to learn, because how can you advance if there's not an opportunity? So they go, get the training, get the understanding, get the learning, and then, get more exposure to other facets of commercial real estate. Because commercial real estate isn't just brokerage. It isn't just leasing. It isn't just acquisitions and dispositions or site selection. It could be property management. It could be corporate real estate. I did that at Walmart. It could be, there's a lot of different areas. It could be construction, So it's the exposure to the different areas. And then you can find out what best fits your personality.
Exactly.
Is it the math? Is it the leases? You just never know, but that is a program that teaches. So I've helped out in that regard. I've gone to speak to their class a few times. I've helped with the selection process for the Atlanta cohort, and I also found a way to partner the two. So CCIM, the chapter for Georgia, and then REAP, the graduates, put together a mentorship program. So after REAP, what's next? After they graduate, are they getting in the doors? Because this is a relationship business.
Very much, yes.
It's heavily involved on relationships, and even doing deals. Someone cannot do a deal with you because, I don't know who that person is, or it's just relationship driven. If you want to get in the door at one place, usually it's someone that opens that door for you.
Right.
So with CCIM, we partnered 7+ year veterans with REAP graduates to foster relationships,
Nice.
to answer questions, to maybe introduce them to the room. You know, hey, this is so and so and so, and we put together different conversations on how did I become a developer, how did I get access to capital, you know, how is commercial lending, how does community lending work at Bank of America, how does property management work at Publix.
Right.
And these people that are designees of CCIM have given back their time to individually mentor, but then also to spend time with the group having these discussions.
Right.
So not only do they have one person that they can rely on for the 9 months, but now they also have exposure to all of the mentors to learn from them as well.
Definitely. Each one teach one, and that is definitely important with carrying on legacies and so forth, or just building that generational wealth, which is something that we may not necessarily see in some of these communities. So that is just excellent to hear. And if we have any math questions, you know who we're coming to, this negotiator over here. So tell us, you know, what are you up to? What are some of the things that we can expect? What are we going to be seeing coming from you down the pipeline, and especially as we're starting to go into a new year, 2021? What are we looking forward to?
Ooh, 2021. I've been just doing a lot of teaching lately. Just last week, was it last week? I taught at the CCM Global Conference, which was wonderful. It was virtual, so I didn't have to go too far. But I was able to teach on leasing versus subleasing. A few days before, I taught at Georgia State.
Nice.
In their Masters of Real Estate program, and so I taught on corporate real estate and what that looks like and what's involved. So that was a lot of NPV, net present value, internal rate of return. They didn't know that it was going to be heavily related on math and the financial analysis part, but that's what it is.
Right.
So if you don't like math, commercial real estate may not be for you.
Okay.
You know, so
I don't know about residential either, but okay.
So I think more future, opportunities will come, or let me say, I know that in the future there'll be more opportunities to teach, as well as more teaching for CCIM and user decisions. That's my thing.
Yeah.
And more opportunities to give back. The mentorship will be going on again for next year.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and then of course more deals.
Of course.
Absolutely.
It's a very lucrative business once you're in it, once you can close those deals and so forth. So that's excellent. It has been such a pleasure and an honor to be here with you, a true pioneer, a true trailblazer in the commercial industry. It has just been a wealth of knowledge, and I always love when I get to learn from you. So you have this project here, the 131 Walker Street, which we are in front of. I don't believe it's completely leased out, right?
It's not. We have, so Suite 106 is leased. There will be a coffee shop coming. 103 and 104 are leased, and that's a restaurant that I mentioned earlier. So we do have 3 more spaces, Suite 101, 102, and 105. So they range between 1146 square feet to about 1584 square feet. I am entertaining interested parties. I would say that it is, we are very intentional, like I said before, about what we put in the space, and we want to create synergy. We're not just leasing just to lease. It's not about the money. You know, of course, bottom line, yes, but we want synergy. We want partnerships to be made between the tenants. Like the 2 that are already in here are already speaking. They speak a couple times a week. They have established a great relationship. It is so beautiful to see the connections. They're looking to see, oh, well, how can I utilize your services? And how can you utilize my services? And how can we partner together? That's what we want. That's adding to the community, not taking away, and that's partnership. We want everyone in there to get along, and it's worth it to us. Even if we have to wait a little longer to get the right mix, that's what we're going to do. And so if I'm entertaining interested parties, so feel free to reach out.
Definitely, and all of her contact information you'll be able to find at the end of this video. If you feel that you're going to be a good fit for this community, she'll definitely let you know. But yes, definitely feel free to give her a call. So if people wanted to catch up with you, if they wanted to keep an eye as to, eye out for what you're doing, how can they reach you or follow you, I should say, on the social media platform?
Sure, I'm on LinkedIn, absolutely. LinkedIn.com/Kenisha Rubnett, KENISHAROBNETT. I'm also on Instagram, and that is KenishaRubnett.realestate. Yes, so I'm there as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for telling us what you're working on. Thank you so much for being a part of this project and also just being an intricate part of this community. It's always great to see women such as yourself doing good things, and we look forward to seeing many more things from you and what you have coming up in the near future. So thank you so much. It was truly a pleasure.
Thank you for the opportunity to share. It's been great.
Yes, thanks.